Well, good afternoon, everyone. And once again, welcome to another live this morning. This afternoon. I do it every time. Okay. How are you? And thanks for joining us. And we love you dearly. Thanks for coming on when you can. Afternoon session. And should be fun. Got a few studies I want to talk about here. And let's see, if I can see your name, I'm going to say hello. Okay, so let me see here if we get a few names coming up. Well, there you go. Arlene, how you doing? Thanks for coming on, and you're number one this afternoon. On my list, at least. Judy, how are you? Thanks for joining us this afternoon, and we'll try and have some fun. Okay. Frida, how are you? Welcome. Live. Fran, there you are from sunny Orangeville. Serpa from Dowling, Ontario. Good afternoon. Sherry, Mississauga. Georgie, Halifax, Nova Scotia. Wanda. And Wanda's from Virginia. Nellie. Wendy from Markham. Denise, how are you from London? Francis from Vaughan. Thank you for joining us. It's a privilege for me to say hello to you. Lori, Cambridge. And Etta, good afternoon. And let's see, anyone else here gonna say hello to us? Hi, Jeanette, how are you? Samia from Sioux, St. Marie. Dennis, how are you? Dennis, nice to have you. Linda, Dennis is asking how I am. I'm fantastic, thank you. Judy, Port Perry. Helga from Scarborough. Vince from Tirana. Paula, how are you? And we'll do a couple of more, guys. Nativity, thanks for coming on. And Yvonne from Petawawa. And let me see here. Anybody else? Okay, let's get going. Barb, thank you. Thank you, guys, for joining us this afternoon. Okay, let's look at some new studies. Hi, Gary. Hi, Lisa Marie. Guys are joining. As you come on, you get your notifications. We appreciate. Cheryl, how are you? Saying hi, Doc. Well, hi back at you. Annette, Lorraine from Oshawa. We love you guys. What would we do without an audience? Well, I would have been gone. Well, look who's on. Alwan from Iraq. How do you like that, folks? Sandy from Bell River, Ontario. Nice to have you on. And Andrea from Niagara Falls. Andrea in the mornings, she's in that Trinity, usually right at the top. Lorraine and Danny. And some people really like the afternoon sessions. Well, it's good. We want your feedback, guys. Betty from Aylmer. Okay. Now listen to this. Okay, and does this surprise me? No. Okay, you've heard it here so many times. Betty, Brenda, how are you? Long-term studies of statins. Okay, statins been around for a long time. Therefore, you can get a lot of studies on statins. Most of the studies on statins have not been encouraging to statin use, okay? What are statins? Cholesterol lowering medication, okay? Number one selling medication of all time. And it ain't even close, guys. It ain't even close. But here's another one, okay? Review in clinical pharmacology. Statins are, listen to the headline, statin use can backfire. The very thing that they were designed to prevent was heart disease. And this review in clinical pharmacology, looking at all the studies, a real good review of studies, and it ain't my mom used to say that. It ain't pretty, meaning it ain't pretty. The studies on statins are not pretty when you really look at them. If you want to cherry pick, and the pharmaceutical companies will do that, they're good at it. They'll cherry pick and say, oh, you know what, it decreases your cholesterol. Well, yeah, it does. We give you that. It'll lower your cholesterol, all right. But it didn't even make a dent in heart disease. But now it's worse. According to the review in clinical pharmacology, and by the way, I wish this hit mainstream. I don't think it ever will. The review in clinical pharmacology says they actually cause heart problems. Now, I don't like to be the one who says, I told you so. But I told you so. And for years, before my podcast days, in my broadcast days on the radio, I was railing against cholesterol. Well, as a matter of fact, and cholesterol medication. As a matter of fact, it got me kicked off a radio show that I did in Ottawa once a month. I had my own radio show, but I was a guest in, I think, CFRA, if I'm not mistaken, in Ottawa. And because of my stand on cholesterol medications, a doctor called into the station, said, you got to get that kook off of the air. And we had a very popular show. So it wasn't easy to kick me off because CFRA protected me to some extent because of our ratings. However, when some of the other sponsors, and this doctor was quite adamant, never gave up, said, this guy's off the air. We don't want him. And some of the sponsors of CFRA he contacted. And guess what, guys? I was gone. For saying what? For saying, be careful what you wish for. Because in my mind, and I was constantly saying this, you're looking for love in all the wrong places. In our book, Sun, Steak, and Steel, Tony Jr. and I, we used to, we coached minor hockey together, okay? I coached him when he was a kid, and he coached his son for years. And I helped him. I enjoyed that. And we tell a story in Sun, Steak, and Steel about a kid who never scored a goal in his life. He's got the puck, and he's going in all alone on goal, and he scores. You know what the problem was? He was skating going the other way, and he scored on our own net. We were dying laughing. I mean, you know, how could you not? The poor kid, he didn't realize what he had done. He got spun around, and all of a sudden, in his mind, he had a breakaway, but it was on the wrong end, and he made the nicest move in the world and scored. And we were on the ground. But that's cholesterol, guys. That's statin drugs. They're going the wrong way. They're going after the wrong thing. And Because I often told people this, okay? Again, even in my radio days, I said, well, what do you want me to say? I see a lot of problems in my office. I'm a clinician. I'm not a researcher, okay? I don't pretend to be a researcher. I'm not. But I was in practice for a lot of years, and I analyzed blood, I don't know, thousands of times a year, and looked at blood work. I said, like I know what they're trying to do and get your cholesterol down, but I don't agree with that, because I said, first of all, when I was even in high school and then off into biochemistry, cholesterol is a unit of life. You need it. It's in every cell of your body. It's in your brain. It's hormones. It transports. You can't live without cholesterol, to the point that, and I've said this was a saying of mine, that God don't trust you, because he figures, a lot of people will go saturated stupid. They'll stop eating fat. They won't get enough cholesterol in their diet, because cholesterol is only found in the animal kingdom. And so God don't trust you. 85% of your cholesterol is made by you, mostly in the liver. So how could that be bad? So I started out with that premise in my head. I said, well, I know what they're saying, because even before, you have to understand, I go back, as my grandchildren say, Grandpa, were you born in the days of Noah? Well, not quite. But I watched Saturated Stupid. You know what I mean by that? Where the fat police said, well, one guy said it. And Ansel Keys, one guy, he started the whole thing, and he fudged the numbers and made a lot of money getting to his hypothesis that cholesterol caused heart disease. Guys, I watched it. I saw it happen. When I was in school in the 70s, they were telling even us students that we had to be careful of cholesterol, and that's why margarine was better than butter. And fat made you fat, and fat gave you cholesterol, and fat clogged your arteries. Well, I never believed that. I never believed it, not for a minute. And so when I saw the hypothesis that cholesterol was the cause of heart disease, I didn't buy it. And then the pharmaceuticals got involved. And you have to give them a high five, guys. You have to give Pfizer and the rest of them, you have to give them a high five, because they're marketing geniuses. They took this ball, cholesterol, and they ran with it and said, we got to get a medication that lowers cholesterol. So they made LDL cholesterol the bad guy. And if you are sponsoring the media, you get a big influence. So they just pumped it and pumped it and pumped it. And they scared the living life out of the world. It worked. It worked. Their marketing strategy worked. And all the restaurants started cooking in bad vegetable oils instead of butter and ghee and fat. No, they wanted these seed oils because they had a lot of them. It was easy to get and easy to make. And You could heat them up and heat them over and heat them again and again and again, and they just didn't care. At least it wasn't butter. So that's what they did. And the world went what I call saturated stupid and cholesterol stupid. And now, as the, honestly doing reviews, because that's all this is, in the clinical, in the journal Clinical Pharmacology, they're looking at a review of all the studies on cholesterol, and it ain't pretty. As a matter of fact, not only do you get a boatload of side effects. Why is that? Well, because statin drugs, one of the pathways that medication works in the body, it destroys mitochondria. Now, why would you want to do that? Your energy, your battery packs, very destructive because it destroys CoQ10, ubiquinol. It destroys it. And you need ubiquinol, CoQ10, in the mitochondria, your battery packs in your cells. Guess where you have the most battery packs? Yep, your brain and your heart. So what are they finding out? Oh, very destructive to the battery packs. And now, okay, because if you look at commercials on TV, a lot of commercials are out there for CoQ10. I'm not against that. Hey, if you're taking a statin drug, you need CoQ10. If a pharmacist doesn't tell you that, they're really practicing malpractice. They know that. But it gives them the EBGBs to go over to the natural products, because all the pharmacies have natural products now, right? And but it gives them the EBGBs to go over and saying, look, you got a prescription for a statin drug. You need to be on CoQ10. But 99% don't do that at all, and they should. And they're really practicing malpractice because they know this. They know the side effects of statin drugs. Rhombolithiasis, you know what that is? Muscle damage, muscle wasting. I saw patients in my office that were on, I asked them, because I'd see a few guys wearing a shirt like mine, and they had trouble unbuttoning or buttoning their shirt. I said, are you on statins? Oh, yeah. Because they never thought the fact that they had trouble. I used to tell them, lift your arms. They had trouble. They had trouble getting their arms up. I said, well, what do you think's doing that to you? Your statin. Lipitor, Crestor, Zocor. But here's the kicker. The review says it's worse than we thought in terms of side effects. Actually, headline, backfire. Meaning the very thing you're trying to prevent, statins can cause heart disease. Doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. Because I've always said it, statin drugs, unfortunately, and by the way, statin drugs for women, 50% of women who take a statin drug, that's half, become diabetics. What? Yeah, 50%. So, I mean, it's unreal. And here's what this review said. statins are a mitochondrial disaster. Holy moly, I said that for 25 years, 30 years, 40 years. A mitochondrial disaster. One, because of the CoQ10, right? The other one, they say, statins deplete vitamin K2. What? Yeah. Statins deplete vitamin K2. And guys, you know this, vitamin K2 is essential in lowering calcification. What happens in your arteries? Calcification, plaque, not cholesterol, plaque, calcium, hardening of the arteries when calcium is in the wrong place. Where have you heard that before? Calcium belongs in your bones, not in your blood, because it will calcify. And what they're showing is statin drugs deplete not only CoQ10, which is very dangerous, but vitamin K2. It depletes it. And now you don't have the transporter. You need a transporter of calcium. Okay, we talked about this yesterday to some extent. We talked about magnesium being a calcium channel blocker. It blocks calcium from forming in the wrong places. I love magnesium for that. But vitamin K2 is the transporter. It'll take calcium and put it where it belongs. If you're on a statin drug, holy smokes. So they said the two processes that are making, let me just read it to you again, actually cause, statin drugs can backfire and actually cause a deadly heart problem. They should have been fired a long time ago. I'll tell you why first. Because they don't work. They don't extend your life. They're not preventing heart attacks. So let's say they didn't have any side effects. Let's say statin drugs had no side effects. But they do. But let's say they didn't. Well, why would you take one anyway? Why? They don't reverse heart disease. You can lower your LDL cholesterol. Oh, doc, you know, there used to be a commercial, I got a migraine every time I saw it. A fireman, okay, would, when they get called to a fire, they get on the fire pole and come down the pole. This guy comes down the pole because he just got his results, his blood work, and he comes down the pole all happy and excited. He gets to the bottom and he goes, I lowered my cholesterol. And they all come around, all the other firemen, and give him a high five. Now that's probably a 20-year-old commercial, okay? But it used to give me a migraine. I felt like, to the firemen, hello? Listen, Larry. So what? You lowered your cholesterol. What's that got to do with anything? Is that going to give you less of a chance to have not have a heart attack? No. The research is not there. It's not there. And I can't tell you how many patients I saw over the years that had memory problems from statin drugs. And listen, guys, I wasn't in the business of taking people off their medication. I was in the business of giving them information. I wasn't their primary care physician. A lot of people would ask me, I got asked this on radio all the time. What would you do, Doc? Well, you wouldn't be able to convince me to take statin drugs. You wouldn't be able to because, again, it's like that little kid scoring in his own net. You remember planes, trains, and automobiles, and they're yelling at John Candy, "You're going the wrong way." Well, that's statin drugs. And they're now saying, my word, they cause heart disease. But that'll get buried, guys. I can almost guarantee. There's too much money involved. And I'm not a conspiracy guy. I think you guys know that. I'm not a conspiracy guy. Okay? But I've been consistent. I tell people, well, why do you want to lower your LDL? Like, God gave you LDL. Why do you want to lower that? Well, it's bad? Nah. And now, I call this getting into the weeds. Now they're in the weeds. What do I mean by that? Well, now we have to look at the size of that cholesterol particle. You have ApoA and ApoB, large particle cholesterol, small particle cholesterol, and those are migraine for me. And the reason I say it is because they have to do something to convince cardiologists to stick to the plan. Now, where I am in Ontario, you got no choice if you want to be a cardiologist in Ontario, because the College of Physicians, the College of Cardiologists, you want your license and somebody has a heart attack or whatever and you're not giving them cholesterol medication, you're going to lose your license. And so there's a lot of pressure put on to keep people in line, doctors in line. And all of their training, all of their courses, all of their postgraduate courses or whatever, they're all sponsored by pharmaceutical companies. And they hammer them. You got to do it. You want to lose your license? What if your patient has a heart attack? You're going to be responsible. And, they don't ask the question whether they work or not. They ask the question whether you're prescribing them or not. Okay? And I realize, am I going to make a dent in it? Probably not much of one. But I'm here to give information. And a lot of patients, and I love this, they challenge their physician. They challenge them. And you got to be equipped to challenge. I used to tell my patients, bring in a notepad and ask me any question you want. Okay? And check them off when I answer them. So you don't have to ask them twice. But then you can't say, well, I forgot to ask you something. No, write it out and then ask. You waited a long time to see me. I appreciate that. I respect that. I respect your time. Ask me questions. And I built a reputation on that. Long-term studies in the clinical pharmacology review, statin use can backfire and actually cause deadly heart problems. Holy smokes, I never thought I would see it. but they're saying it. Okay. Tomorrow, Q&A. If you're in our private Facebook book club, the Rebuild Your Temple, okay, that is, we do a little session on Friday mornings at 8 o'clock, okay? And so you're welcome to come into that, okay? That's a private book club, okay? Somebody asked me yesterday, what are you going to do a book club for the other one? Well, you know what? I'm thinking about it. Okay? Anywho, but guys, at the end of the day, you know this. We have at least 2 days a week, usually, dedicated to question and answer. So don't be shy. And every once in a while, I question you guys to see if you're listening. And you always amaze me. You always amaze me. I shouldn't be amazed, but I'm amazed. Because for lay people, okay? I went to school a long time. Okay? But for folks like you, smart. Honorary degrees in nutrition. I'm working on it. Okay, we love you. We'll talk to you soon.